Hello, somebodies, and welcome to this week's episodes of 10 and 11 of Love is Blind, the uneventful episode. As you should know by now, there are spoilers, but are they really? As you know, I always have my boy Jay here. I'm Mr. Mafuchi. We're gonna get this going. We're gonna try to spin something here, because there wasn't much, and quite frankly, I'm still a little miffed that they didn't just give me all 3 episodes. I'm gonna say that right now. You know, my boy Jay, I think he said it was 3 and 3, but no. It was 3, 2, and now 1 and 1 with the reunion. You know, him and I are going to have words after the show. But, for now, let's just get to this. But before we do, please make sure, if at the end of the show, if you like what you hear, you like what you saw, hey, click that like and subscribe button. It always helps us out. We do it for you. So now, without further ado, let's try to make something uneventful, kind of fun. Let's go. Let's start with the most boring couple here. And I say this for one reason. There's nothing wrong with them. They're a perfect match. They just go together. There hasn't been any hurdle they've had to jump over. They just love each other. It's true love. And I've said it probably from the first episode, which is these two are going to make it. Simple as that. There's nothing else. Unless there's some kind of blow up in the final episode, Jay, I don't think there's anything here. This is just a fairy tale ending. So if there's something else, Jay, let us know.
So I have no notes for Vic and Christine. They seem happy. Next.
Now, let's go to the couple that didn't make it. And I think we all know why. It was Chris and that ego and whatever you want to call it, but he done messed things all up and he had to break Jessica's heart along the way. It was all Chris. And I kind of figured, Jay, that we found out about Chris, that he's a party guy, that's his type of atmosphere. So that's why everything was good in Mexico, you know? He could even talk to Bri, because Bri at that time, if you remember, she just needed to talk to Chris because they just shared so much. But because Chris was in his setting, in his atmosphere, he was still digging Jessica. But what happened once they left Mexico? What happened after they left that party atmosphere? Things got real, and Chris kind of reevaluated Jessica, which is messed up. And then what did we see? Him all drunk, him trying to pick up on Bri. And we'll get to that later with Bri. But no, Chris just completely messed it up. And Jessica, unfortunately, was the victim of all this. So, Jay, let us know. What did you see?
Well, I was surprised that they kind of picked up where they left off in the previous episode. And I'm like, okay, he's drunk. So I'm like, I'm not really paying too much of attention. Because, yes, we already knew he was interested in Bri because that was most likely his type. But when he was talking to Jess later on, he was like, can I speak to you? I'm like, why? One, you're drunk, so you're not going to say what you really need to say and apologize for. But what is your intent of having this conversation? I know it's not you're trying to get back with her because that ship has long sailed. It's like there's no way to get back on the same footing as you were, even if you wanted to be just friends and she was okay with that. But that conversation was just uncomfortable just because, like, you're not sober. So if she's even paying attention to you, she'll know how much of full value you're giving her anyway. So I thought that was pointless. He said Bri, they can be friends with different. He didn't say that about Jess, so I wanted to make sure I didn't get that part mixed up. I don't know why they don't vet people a lot better for these type of shows. And I kind of recalled about how people, when they say how much they love each other on this show, and then you go and do something like this. It's like, oh yeah, I love you, but you're not my number 2. I don't find you physically attractive. What part of that has love in it at all?
Alright, here we go with Jordan and Amber. And what has Jay kept saying this whole time? At some point, the kid is going to be an issue. And in this episode, well, I think there was a misunderstanding from how Jordan explained it, okay? Because he did tell Kayvon, I think, he was telling him his true feelings about meeting Amber's daughter. and that he still didn't feel good about it. But I don't know if Amber just misunderstood, and let alone I think she had a drink or two. I don't know if that hurt the situation. And he just flat out approached Jordan and said, hey, you know what? I'm not going to do this with you, and just left. I'm paraphrasing, obviously. But that just kind of ruined the whole time with them the next day because she just stayed in bed. And it's because she didn't know how to deal. At the same time, I think we found out that Amber will not communicate things right off. So Jordan's going to have to learn that he's going to have to wait on Amber's timetable to be able to talk about something. And look, I'll give Amber something. As a parent, yes, you always want to look out for your child. If you feel or hear something that could be even remotely negative, as a parent, obviously that's going to bring up a red flag. But I don't think that was Jordan's intention whatsoever. He just wanted to talk to somebody and say his feelings. And again, misunderstanding, but they did talk and hash things out, and they did work their relationship out, okay? So they're going to make it to the altar, and I don't think the Amber's child is going to stop this marriage, so I feel they're both going to get to the altar and say yes. I mean, Jay, do you see it any differently?
I hope they don't, just because if you're having this big of an issue where there's a miscommunication, this is mostly on her end, because when I think he was speaking to Vic, I'm not 100% sure, but when he was thinking about his nervousness about coming and having a child in his life within this marriage, I didn't have an issue with that. He was just stating how he felt, not saying this is going to deter me, this is not, it's going to not make me want to marry Amber or anything like that. But I feel she blew it out of proportion instead of just saying, hey, are you having doubts, or is this a problem for you? Anything of like that nature. I just feel like he was just, a little apprehensive about having a child in his life through this marriage. I didn't see it as a big deal, except for her blowing up the way she did. I didn't think of it in that aspect. So if they would just had like a normal conversation. Now, if he didn't vocalize that to her, that's another issue. And my question would be to why? Have you vocalized it, or have that been on her mind to ask him that question? And if so, how come she didn't? But like I said in other videos, especially from the first one, if you said a woman having a child is a deal breaker, why are you still seeing this woman? That was my only question. Because if they were a deal breaker, you should have just cut bait instead of, I'm going to continue this because I like her as a person. But if there's a child involved where you say it was a deal breaker, it should be a deal breaker. But that's just my thoughts. I don't think long term it will work, but I don't mind being wrong.
Up next, we have Brittany and Devonta, and for what I've seen so far prior to these episodes, it's been a little spat here and there. It's like, oh, Devonta doesn't want to talk. Like, oh, Brittany needs constant compliments. She needs reassurance. That's what we've seen so far. But this time around, the one thing that I did see that Devonta brought up, which is, and I've noticed this from a lot of married couples, that they don't like to talk about this, which is a prenuptial agreement. Now, I'll say this much, okay? If you don't set up a prenuptial agreement on your own, you are leaving it to the state that you live in to make that prenuptial agreement for you. And you have no decision or any say in it whatsoever once that happens. So, even if you are in the best marriage, even if you have a marriage like Jay, I would say still maybe draw up a prenuptial agreement because you have all the say in it. Otherwise, like I said, the state has every say and they control it. Now, with that said, is it a tough conversation? It seems that way because I've noticed that more with women, they kind of get off right away, off track where, oh, he wants prenuptial agreement. He doesn't believe in the marriage. Right away, that's what happens. I mean, let's see if Jay notices that too. But that's what I've always noticed from women. They're the ones that are usually opposed to it because of the fact that they feel their partner does not think they will last forever. But that's not the case, okay? In a marriage, if both of you are mature enough, you should be able to bring this up. Again, if I were to do it all over again, I would write up my own prenuptial agreement. Even if I'm flat broke, still I have all to say. But again, for some people, it offends them because it's not going to have staying power. We're not going to make it. No. It's a conversation you should have with your partner. And be open-minded about it, all right? Just have that talk. Trust me, it's worth it. And with Devonta and Brittany, it doesn't seem that it's going to deter Brittany to have the conversation at the end. I think she started to be a little more open-minded and realize it's not going to break her and Devonta up, which is good. That's good progress, all right? And I think good progress on Devonta as well because he's talking. So that's the one thing he's not great at. He says sometimes he won't talk, but even though it's a serious subject, he's talking with Brittany. So that's what we want. So Brittany, hopefully you're happy. You're getting what you want. I think he threw in a compliment in there, if I remember correctly. Jay, did you see that differently?
I do look at a prenup differently. On these type of shows, you do. I know on Married at First Sight, they usually have a prenup based on production and stuff like that. They do it on I don't know if they do it on Love is Blind. But usually the people who complain about the prenup, they're making less than the person who wants the prenup. So in this aspect of a show, you should get a prenup just because you don't know how it's going to end. Because most likely it's going to end because people on these shows don't usually stay together. And you don't want to be someone who is usually because someone's going to get spiteful. And then things are going to get ugly. So it's better to have a prenup in place. But if you're not on a TV show and you want to get a prenup, I have no problems about it, yes or no. I feel if you pick the right person and then let's just say your marriage runs its course and you guys end up getting a divorce. And if it wasn't like an ugly marriage or anything like that, hopefully, you guys would part amicably and split whatever you guys earn together in the marriage. But I don't have a dog in the fight for prenups one way or the other. But if you do make a certain amount and the person who's coming in is either dependent on you or don't make as much as you, I would say protect yourself in the long run.
Now, here we go. Here is the beautiful couple here, Alex and Ashley. But what did we carry over from the previous episodes, which was Alex and his timeline? Well, it all came to a head, didn't it, over at this gathering, right? We even threw in the participant, Priyanka, who knew Alex prior. And Priyanka was starting to put a timeline together, and Alex was still trying to figure it out. Again, it seems like this is all Alex, not keeping track of what his love life was like. But I don't necessarily blame him for that, not knowing all the particulars. I have more of an issue, and you'll hear from Jay if he agrees with me or not. I have more of an issue with Ashley really caring so much about Alex's past and his love life. Why does that matter? Why does what Alex did before you two got together matter so much? Are you in that process of, well, the timeline's not fitting? Is he a liar? Are you going by that? I mean, you spent all this time in the pods, okay? I know, granted, you only have so much time in there, and you got to know each other. And if he didn't lie to you there, I mean, that's a good thing. But it still just seemed, even though Ashley kept saying no, that she was still trying to catch him in a lie. And what if you did? So, to me, so what? This was his past. Everyone has a past. And I feel if Alex maybe not so much lied, but he just couldn't remember exact points, exact dates, I'm not gonna put him on the coals and roast him for that. Again, we don't even know Ashley's past because Alex is not digging in. whether he doesn't care to delve in or he just doesn't care like Ashley does. That's the vibe I'm getting. Now, granted, they were able to get past it, okay? Ashley somehow figured out that, you know, I still have these good feelings about you, and then they went in what looked like a cabin, and Alex set up a fireplace atmosphere with candles and everything. So I guess that kind of softened her up again to see what she fell in love with in Alex. But I just thought it was kind of stretched out, and it went on for too long on Ashley's side. Now, Jay, I'm sure you have a lot to say about this, or maybe not. But hey, let us know. What did you see?
So for these two, I think I took the most notes. Now I do see it differently than you do. So, because when Priyanka came into the conversation, she was just poking holes in all the stuff he was telling Ashley. So, from Ashley's aspect, I'm looking at it as like, okay, he can't keep his story straight because the travel nurse who he went to go see for some type of, I think it was some kind of car show or something, or a race or something that he went there initially for, and then he made it seem like he didn't stay at her house, but then she stayed at her house, and then he's hooking up with her in the process. So there was too many lies, too many stories going one way to another, and he can't even keep it straight. So she's looking at it as, if you can't tell me the truth about this, which is simple, what else you gonna lie about down the line that could be bigger? So I understand where she was coming from. Just like when women do this anyway without even trying, they'll ask a question, but the guys, they'll say one story one day, and another story another day. Because women, they'll ask you the same question multiple different ways at different time periods, and based how you answer it, they're gonna know you lying. So Ashley just need to cut bait. Stop looking at thinking he's pretty and just cut bait, because he ain't worth it. He's not worth it. And then the way that Alex kind of snapped at Priyanka, where she was like just showing and pointing out stuff in his stories, and he wasn't happy because he knew he got caught in another lie. And I'm kind of glad that part was there, but he didn't have to go off on her like that, or like try to put her in a certain spot, because you saw the look on her face where she was like, all right. So yeah, so that wasn't necessary on Alex's end. And let me see what else here. I don't know if they were in a cabin at this point, but I know Ashley asked Alex, are you happy? No, they were not in the cabin. I think they were back at the apartment. She asked Alex, are you happy? He said yes, but he shook his head no. He was like, yes. So I was like, Ashley, pay attention. He's telling you he's not into you. So I was like, all right. I was like, I had to rewind that part back. I was like, did he say yes but shook his head no? I was like, interesting. Very interesting, Alex. And then apparently Ashley, she likes to take vacation in warm weather. I think it was something about Alex. He didn't care. He wanted to do what he wanted to do. And when she was trying to suggest things like for vacation, I think it was the exact opposite. He started knowing me too much at that point where I was like, okay, I don't care about Alex no more. But one thing that did get my attention, Alex was going on, and I think Ashley asked him about how do you see your married life on your birthday, your next birthday, or Christmas, or whatever case like that, whatever year for their marriage, right? And it seemed like Alex was naming everything that he can see but Ashley. I was like, I didn't hear Ashley in there at all about how you see marriage. I'm like, we talking about marriage with you, right, Ashley? Not marriage to someone else who's not you. Because he didn't bring up Ashley at all what he was talking about, what I see in marriage down the line, stuff like that. I'm like, Ashley's not in there at all. Interesting. So she should understand that he's just not that into you. That's just all it is. You're white. You don't like white girls. So cut bait. You gotta be like Dev and Brittany. Like, Dev like white girls. Like, he's not into black and Hispanic girls. So I was like, cut bait. Is like, I just don't understand. Like, the men are telling you who they are and what they like and what they want. And the ladies on the show are just not paying attention.
Our next couple, the one that actually made it to the altar on the show, But we're still left with the teaser because they didn't give us the full answers on both. Okay, one of them did say yes, and it was Emma. But at the same time, with them too, it's always going to continuously be kids. Okay, Mike wants them. Emma's not sure, and I think still leans towards no, but is open-minded. I don't know if she just open-minded to continue with the marriage and complete the show. I mean, that's horrible to think about, right? But she's already gone this far, and she married her number 2, and that's going to be fun if they're going to show that at the reunion. I hope they do. That Mike is Emma's number 2, even though she didn't say that to him. But it's always got to be about the kid situation. And you know, with Mike and his family, they're big on kids. And I think Emma, to a certain degree, they're also about kids. But what I did notice in the previous episodes is that Emma's parents don't really know her either. So that was kind of shocking. But I don't know if there's going to be a second yes. If Mike's going to say yes. Okay? So this may be the first one that won't work, just because Mike may finally just see the light and realize that if Emma is not for certain on kids, that's just going to get his goat. That's it. It's always been kids. Mike wants kids. It's always going to be it. Just like Jordan had a deal breaker with kids. I think this is really, Mike never said it out loud, that unless you have kids, it's his deal breaker. So I think this may be a no. So what do you say about that, Jay?
So I remember watching this episode, and Mike was talking to the producer saying, I really hope they ask her first so he can know where she stands, as far as like, if she says yes, she's probably open to having kids, but she says no, all right, he knows that's not his person. But the one thing I hate about these shows, when they get to the altar, because they I don't know if they tell the cast to kind of draw it out, make it sound like he's gonna say no, then say yes. That really gets on my nerves, because it made it seem like she was gonna say no, because they're panning to the Mike's parents, and the mom was like, Heffa, you better say yes, instead of dragging all us out here like this, stuff like that. So now they make it seem like Mike's going to say no. He'll probably say yes. But unless she knows for 100% fact that she wants to have kids, she should have said no instead of yes. So I'm looking forward to the reunion to see if they're still together or not.
All right, somebodies. You know, kind of weird that we left the last couple, Connor and Bri. But this is the one that, for me, was surprising that they didn't make it. But then again, I've said from the very beginning, these two were opposites, alright? Connor was very reserved, and Bri is very outgoing. Now, there are couples that can make it all the way through. When they're opposites, sure, there's always an exception to the rule. But with them, it just seemed like maybe this could work because they went through a couple of hard times, but they always came together and talked about it. That was important because what do we always say on the channel? What does Jay say? Communication and effective communication. So they were able to have that, and they had tough conversations. Just like when it went to Mexico and Bri just needed to talk to Chris. Connor didn't like it at all, and it brought up his insecurities, but they talked about it, they hashed it out, and they moved past it. So I felt that was good. Opposites, but they talk. That's what matters, right? So this, at the end, when Bri and Connor, I forget whose apartment they were in, maybe Bri's, out of the blue, Bri started just asking a lot of questions and harping, and then it just took a turn. It took a 180. Bri wasn't sure if what she would do at the altar, and she didn't want to proceed. Now, I actually like this because she had enough self-awareness to know that this was probably what was going to happen because of her, because she still had some doubts. She wasn't fully sure. And I kind of like that she was not going to leave Connor hanging, because he said he would have said yes. He would have took a leap of faith with Bri. But Bri was the mature one to just say within herself that if I'm not sure, I don't want to hurt Connor. I feel this is a great moment in the show, and a great person in Bri, that she asked the questions that needed to be asked and made a final decision of no, I'm not ready. So Jay, what did you take from Bri and Connor?
So when this happened, right, the first thing I was thinking about was when Chris was taking a shot at Bri, right, at the bar. And I was like, okay, is this going to come back around down the line? And then Chris was telling lies to Bri about what Connor said. I think Chris told Bri that Connor said that Emma was his number one. And I'm not sure that she was ever his number one in the pods. I think Bri was always his number one. So, one, you're telling lies, trying to break them up so you can get at her. So I thought that was interesting. But I did like how Bri went to Connor and spoke about that. And he was like, no. So I like how they had that conversation. Just try to clear up the air and just be open and honest with each other. I did like that aspect. And one thing that I wasn't understanding, I was very surprised where she said, I would say no. I'm going to say no at the altar if we walk down there. Who is on this show ever sure about or not having doubts? Because when you haven't known this person that long, there's people who've been together, 3 years plus, and they still not sure about getting married to that person that they're with. So, you know someone less than 2 months, it's not going to be any different. But when she kept saying, I haven't been my best self. I'm thinking to myself, what does that mean? Like, were you treating him like crap? Is it something that you only did when the cameras were not around? I kind of wanted more about how you're not your best self and he loves you anyway. Because if he loves you at your worst, imagine when at your best, when the cameras are not around. I don't know, like it was just something going on in her personal life that was going on. So that was something I had questions about. I wanted to know more about there. But I actually felt bad for Connor. I didn't think they would work just in general, just because I felt her connection with Chris was better. And I'm curious, just let me know if it's just me. Does anyone else think Bri and Chris will be together by the reunion or have dated since the show went off the air? Just curious, because that just came to my mind. What do you think about Mafuchi? Did that cross your mind at all?
No, that didn't cross my mind at all, but that would be, wow. If they end up together, and what if this was the seed of doubt that Bri had that made her tell Connor no? That would be, you know how messed up that would be? Because they effed over two great people, Jessica and Connor, along the way. So if you're onto something, and we do see Chris and Bri at the reunion together, oh, that's gonna be fireworks right there. That's gonna be fire. Good Lord. Wow. That's something to think about. Hey, somebody, let us know in the comment section. Do you agree with Jay? Is that a crazy situation, or could that happen? Let us know. Well, somebodies, we're just gonna run through, Jay and I, the couples, and see if we agree on who's gonna make it and who's gonna not make it, okay? So here we go. Number 1, Vic and Christine. Yes, they've had nothing wrong with them. They're the perfect couple. So I say yes.
I think they'll get married. Since we haven't seen a lot about them on camera, we don't know if they have any issues or how they resolve issues, anything like that. But they do talk. So I feel yes, they'll get married. Will they stay together about a reunion? I don't know, because I just don't have enough data. But yes, to getting married.
Let's go to Jordan and Amber. It's always been the kid thing, right? I think Amber is just still too sensitive, and rightfully so as a parent. If Jordan says anything, and if she sees the reunion and finds that out, even if they did say yes, that may be enough to change her opinion. So I'm gonna say yes. They're gonna go to the altar and they're both gonna say yes.
I'm gonna say no. I don't think they should get married, and I am curious to see when they do look at the footage where they're gonna show him saying kids was a deal breaker. I want to know what her reaction is to that, because if they got married and they get together at the reunion, it's not going to matter. But I want to get her thoughts on her seeing that for the first time, or her thoughts for seeing that. But no, I don't think they should get married. And no, my answer is going to be no.
Brittany and Devonta. Okay, this is tough because I think Brittany's still sensitive enough and still has that prenup conversation on her mind, and Devonta's still not giving her the compliments. I'm gonna say no. I think Brittany's gonna say no, because she may finally see the light that she's not gonna get everything she needs from Devonta as much as she would want it to work. I don't think they're gonna make it, and I think Brittany's gonna say no.
I agree. They should not get married. One, he does not like women who are black or Hispanic. That's just number one. So that's definitely not going to work. And hopefully she realizes that he doesn't find her attractive. And it's just not going to work. And he said, I think she asked him when they were on the couch, what would you say at the altar? And he's like, I'm at a 98% yes. What does that mean? No. Because one, you're not attracted to her. So is it 90% of no and then 2% yes? But no. My answer is going to be no. They're not going to make it.
So we got Alex and Ashley. Look, again, this is the beautiful couple that's primarily due to their aesthetic appeal, sex appeal, all that kind of stuff. Will that carry them to a yes at the altar on both ends? I'm gonna say no. And I think it'll be Ashley, because she's gonna stay with that timeline that never lined up. That's always gonna bug her. I think it still bugs her, regardless of how much Alex tries to cover it up with nice things. I think at the end of it, Ashley still feels kind of lied to. She's gonna analyze. She may even talk to her friends, her family about this, and they probably won't show how she feels about it after she tells them. But I think it's a no, primarily because Alex cannot line up all the points with his love life.
It's going to be a no. If I'm Ashley, I'll be speaking to her dad, because he can read Alex from across the room. Alex, he lies too much. He can't sit still, and then he's trying to demand her to find out from her boss about a promotion that she may or may not get, or a new position or something. So this relationship would not work even if they got married. So hopefully she's smart enough to see all the signs and the red flags are in front of her with Alex. So no, they're not going to make it. Hopefully they're not going to make it to the altar.
All right. I think I touched upon it when we spoke about Emma and Mike. Emma's a yes, because that's how Mike wanted it, as Jay brought up with the producers. So I think Mike will say no, because it's not a for certain thing with the kids. As much as he wants to be with Emma, he probably doesn't feel that he can convince her to be a sure thing with the kids. So I say Mike will say no, and they won't go through with it.
I think he'll say yes, just because Emma said yes as far as potential for having children. Now, at the reunion, only thing I'll be curious about is how she lied and did not tell Mike that he was not the number one, and the reason why Connor and her stopped talking in the pod. So I want to know his reaction to that, but I think he'll say yes. Will it work long term, or will she change her mind? That we don't know, so we'll see at the reunion.
Well, there you go, some buddies. Hopefully we made this eventful enough because there wasn't much going on with these 2 episodes, right? We're going to find out everything in the final episode. So look for us for next week when we give it all to you and then everything's given to us. Let's see if our predictions are correct. And as always, please, in the comments section, put your predictions down. Who do you think is going to make it? Who do you think is not? Do you believe in Jay's theory that maybe Bri and Chris are in the background kind of hooking up? Let us know everything you think of. So, for my boy Jay up there, I'm Mr. Mafuchi. Hey, we'll see you next time.
Later.